Incumbent French President Emmanuel Macron will face far-right challenger Marine Le Pen in a runoff after both advanced in the country's first round of voting this weekend. This is Le Pen's third attempt at the presidency. She ran against Macron 5 years ago when he won in a landslide to become the youngest serving president in French history. Yesterday's voting showed a much tighter race, with Macron securing 27% of votes to Le Pen's 24%. Far-left contender Jean-Luc Mélenchon was on track to come in third at 22%. Let's bring in Roger Cohen. Richard Haass mentioned that you have a great piece out. He covers international affairs and diplomacy for the New York Times, and his new reporting is entitled "Macron to Face Le Pen for President as French Gravitate Toward Extremes." Joe, jump in.
All right. Hey, Roger, thank you so much for being on. We love following you and love your work. So you're obviously the person we wanted to talk to this morning. What I haven't been able to figure out, from your piece, I figured out that Macron gets the 15% most likely from the communists, the Greens, and the socialists. But in the United States, we really didn't hear much of anything about this Mélenchon character who got 22%. Where do his votes go?
Well, his votes come from the left, and they come from all the people who no longer identify with the socialists. A lot of massive support from the young. People under 25 voted overwhelmingly, actually, for Mélenchon. The big question now is, where do all those votes go? Because there's a part of the left that is very disillusioned with Macron, who moved to the right during his presidency. Now, will they hold their noses and vote Macron again? Well, one certainly hopes so, but there are some who may drift toward Le Pen.
It does seem to be a bit like what we saw in the last election, where you had many people on the left, progressives, who were offended by parts of Joe Biden's history in domestic politics, but there was no way they wanted Trump. Is this what we should probably expect to happen with that 22%, along with the Greens and the socialists and the communists, that most likely Macron gets his 50 plus 1%?
Well, Joe, yeah, most likely, but between that and the reality, there are 2 weeks, and they're going to be 2 very tense weeks. Most polls are showing right now a 52% Macron, 48 Le Pen. That's really within the margin of error. And as you said, the far right and the far left do meet. Most of Marine Le Pen's support is from working class France. So it's not a done deal by any means. Macron did a little better in the end than some of the polls were showing in the first round. He had a very lackluster, distracted campaign. He seemed to be on the phone to Vladimir Putin every other day. And in the end, his seeming remoteness got to the French. You know, they like attention to be paid to them, especially when the election comes around every 5 years.
So can you explain to Americans the importance, the significance of the center right and the center left completely collapsing in France, as you explained this morning in your Times piece? Explain the significance of that, and also why it happened. Where did the center right and center left go? Why did voters flee?
Well, it's hugely significant. It's not, it wouldn't be, I think, too much to say, you know, roughly equivalent to the Democratic Party and the Republicans just kind of vanishing overnight. 5 years ago, the socialist president, Francois Hollande, was in power. Now we have the socialists at 2%, and we have the center-right Republicans at under 5%, and that was the party of Nicolas Sarkozy, who was president until 2012. So this is a huge sea change. Now, why? I think these parties just had really nothing more to say to the French at a time when issues like security, immigration, growing inequality, and technology had created, as we see in other Western societies, a lot of unease, disaffection, uncertainty about your future, a feeling of being alienated. And that kind of anger does no longer find expression in these centrist parties, especially when you have a guy like Macron, who's been very agile and very adept in trying to occupy the whole center, from the center right to the center left. He said during the campaign, to move forward, you have to walk, and to walk, you need a right leg and a left leg. It was a clever phrase. It's a kind of clever phrase that tends to annoy a lot of his opponents. But anyway, he's been very adept at that. So all that created this implosion.
So, Jonathan Lemire, what's the White House perspective? They must be watching this.
Watching with great concern that if Le Pen were to win, that would, first of all, just change Europe as we know it, and the European Union could collapse. It would be Frexit, as what people have said, after Brexit. It certainly could change the dynamics of NATO, and certainly this coalition they've built to stand up against Russia. Le Pen has been a Putin sympathizer in the past, and she has been supportive of Putin up until the eve of this war, and they are deeply concerned what that could mean. And Richard, senior Biden aides also said to me that they're afraid that even if Macron wins but does so narrowly, the message that could send to the rest of Europe and some of the other leaders who might be facing their own populist challenges, what could that mean for them, particularly when it comes to whether they stick with the West against Moscow?
No, and that's one of Vladimir Putin's hopes, that over time, opening fissures will begin to emerge in the West. I want to come back to Roger on one question, which is, to me, the most interesting statistic in his piece in today's New York Times is the last French presidential election, Macron won overwhelmingly. In the final round, roughly 2/3 to 1/3. And now we're talking about him maybe winning with just by a couple of percent. This, to me, shows a powerful, almost transformation of French political life, and that also ought to worry the White House. This, to me, is a really powerful anti-establishment vote, immigration, class issues, and so forth. Could you just say a little bit about it? That, to me, was the most interesting statistic in your piece, Roger.
Yes, Richard, you're absolutely right. There had been a barrier against the extreme right, against Le Pen. As you know, France had a terrible experience of extreme right governance during World War II. And the defense of the Republic demanded that the extreme right be kept out of power. Now, this has faded over the past 5 years, this sentiment. It's partly that liberal politics have become somehow more standard, more acceptable, more part of the mainstream. And we had Donald Trump in the United States. Marine Le Pen was very quick to congratulate Viktor Orban in Hungary, leader of the liberal league, if you like, in Europe, on his 4th consecutive victory. Recently, there was a makeover of Le Pen, sort of milquetoast makeover. She smiled a lot. She talked about her personal issues. She was different in appearance, but she wants to make it illegal to wear a headscarf in public, that kind of thing. So her basic politics have not changed, but it's become somehow more acceptable, and that's why we're seeing a likely margin that is so much smaller in the second round than it was 5 years ago.
Roger Cohen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. And
hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.